This is the second video in a much larger series. I will link the playlist to the series in the description. This video will be going over Bencisco in its entirety, and I'll do one walkthrough solve and then one quicker example solve. But first I want to go over some important terminology I'll be using. So the first thing that you need to note are triangles, edges, and corners. These pieces that just have one color are triangles, and then edges are these pieces with two colors, and then corners are the ones with four colors. Next, another thing that you'll hear a lot are triples, which would be something like this, where this corner has both of these triangles solved, and that's a triple. And the last thing that you need to know are orbits. Based on the mechanism of an FTO, there are two different orbits. So you're gonna see green, orange, white, and gray on only 4 different faces, and then blue, red, yellow, and purple also on 4 different faces. You're never gonna see white and yellow on the same face, ever. So yeah, we should be ready to do a walkthrough solve. So the scramble should be on the screen now. So the first step is to solve your first center. And the idea of solving your centers is to first make a large trapezoid, so sort of like this, where you have 2 edges and then 1 triangle in between them. And then after that, you would make a small trapezoid, which is 1 edge with 2 triangles, like this. Now, on this scramble, the first thing I see is this red edge with this blue bar here, and I can solve that with like this. And that solves that. And the reason I didn't just pair it to this purple is because there is a set color scheme for your centers, which is purple, red, blue. So I can't solve blue to purple like this, because that'd be purple, blue, which is wrong. So the next thing from here that we can do is find what we can do for our small trapezoid. And if I rotate, I see this purple edge is here, and there's a triangle here, so I can pair them up by doing this, and that makes this bar. And if I do an RY prime, I see this triangle is here, and I can set it up right here by doing a U prime, so that if I do an F prime, R prime, it makes that small trapezoid, the 2 triangles, 1 edge. And then to solve this bar, or the small trapezoid, to the large trapezoid, I can just do R wide L prime. That makes your first center. And just to point it out one more time, the color scheme for your center, when holding it on the left, would be purple, red, blue. And just to make sure you remember that, you can remember it as P, R, B. That's at least what I did until it's stuck in my muscle memory. And once it sticks in your muscle memory, you can solve pretty much from wherever. You could solve blue first and know that it's going to be purple, red. So yeah. But now we can start our first 2 triples. And just to recap, a triple is a corner, with these two triangles solved. So we want to solve two of the white triples, but we need to preserve this center, so we are restricted to R moves, R wide moves, U moves, F moves, and BR. And we want to find our first white corner, so I'm going to start with this blue-purple corner. And we need to find a blue triangle to pair to here, and we can look on the left and right faces first. And in this case, there are two here, and we want to put it to here, but we can't just do a U because that moves this corner out of the way. So what we can do is put this triangle to here by doing R prime U R, and that pairs this triangle to this part of this corner. And now we need to get a purple triangle to here. So what we first want to do is flip this pair so that this blue one, these two blue pieces, will be up here, and this purple one will be here, so we can preserve this. And to do that, we do U prime, R prime. And now we have our purple here, and we can look for one of our purple triangles. And here on the left face, there's one right here. However, we can't in an easy way move it right to here. So instead, what we're going to do is move it to the back right here, so that we can then pair our triple with it right here. So to do that, we would do R prime, U, R prime, and that makes that triple. We can bring it in front of us by doing R wide prime. And now we've solved this triple right here with this corner and these two triangles. And now we can solve it to the purple-blue slot by doing a BL prime U. And now with this triple solved, we can move on to our second triple. So we can rotate down, and now we see this corner is right here. And we see that there are no red triangles in the right or the left. So what we can do is, instead of trying to put this one here by just doing a bunch of weird turns that would take way more moves, we can instead do R wide, and in this case that brought a red triangle from the bottom to here. So then we can do an R prime to make this pair. So now we can flip our pair again, so U prime, R prime. And now when we look on each face, we have this purple triangle and this purple triangle. In this case, I'm going to do this one. So what we would do is R prime, U, R. And now our second triple is formed. And all we have to do to put that into the purple-red slot is BL, F prime. And with that, our first two triples are solved. And now we can move on to our second center. However, we first must note that we have to preserve our first center and our first two triples. So we can only do R moves, R wide moves, and U moves. And we can either start with green, gray, or orange. However, at a beginner level, the sake of consistency, we're going to start with green. However, in my second center video coming out within the next 2 days, I will go over starting with any of those three. But for now, we'll do green. And there is a set color scheme for your second center, which when holding white here would be purple, red, yellow. And you could also convert that to letters and just remember P, R, Y. The way that I learned it, which I wouldn't suggest entirely, I just memorized these two and remembered that yellow would be left. But the reason I wouldn't suggest that is because it hinders the ability to instead start with something like this, where you can solve your yellow-purple large trapezoid. since if you just memorize PR, you would probably always just do this PR first, which could give you less advantage over some cases. But yeah, P, R, Y will be the color scheme that we'll be going for this center. So now to actually solve our second center, first we see that this large trapezoid is already made, so we can bring that to the top by doing R wide U. And checking our color scheme on this, we see purple, red. So we know that's right. So we can do R wide prime to bring that back down to the front. And now we want to make our small trapezoid. And we see this edge and this triangle are here in the top. So we could pair those up by doing R, U, R prime. Now we have this bar, and we just need to put one more triangle here. So looking around, that triangle is here on the back. Looking at it, if we did an R prime, it would be here. So to make our small trapezoid, we can do U prime, R prime. And now we have our small and large trapezoids. And to solve our first center, all we have to do is U prime, R prime. And just to double check our color scheme, we have purple, red, yellow. It's right. And in the event that you did mess up your color scheme, I will show you how to fix that after we solve our last two centers. There's an algorithm that will fix this center's color scheme and the other incorrect center's color scheme in the event you mess them up. Now we can start our last two centers, which will be the gray and orange centers. And after our second center, which we did green, we would then do gray, and then orange. But when you solve gray, orange will solve itself. So you really just need to remember green, gray for now. And the color scheme for gray is red, blue, yellow. And the color scheme for orange is blue, purple, yellow. But as long as you solve your gray color scheme correctly, this center will solve and its color scheme will also be correct. So, yeah. And now, coming back to the walkthrough solve, if we do an R wide prime so we can see what we have, we see that we have our gray large trapezoid here, and it does have the correct color scheme being RB. But we also have this edge here. And instead of bringing this down with more moves, because it'd be like bringing this pair down and then having to pair this to it, I instead would suggest for this we would do R wide U prime to move this edge from here to here, and then R wide prime, U prime, R prime to make our large trapezoid, and then R wide, U, R, R wide prime. And that made our large trapezoid in the correct color scheme, since it would be red, blue, yellow. So now that scheme is correct. So after we've solved our large trapezoid, there are technically some cases that you can have. However, they can all be solved intuitively. And I'll start with the one we have here. It sort of looks like an eye, which is how I recognize it. And since this corner is in the top slot, we'd move this edge here, this triangle here. So when we do this R, it's kind of like this triangle takes this triangle's place. So we would do R, U, R prime. And that gives us one of the easy cases, which is just a setup and it's just an insert. So we would do U prime, R, U prime, R prime. And that would solve both of these. And in the event where you have that case, but this triangle is here, you would do the same thing. You would put this triangle here so that when you do an R move, that triangle that was here took this triangle's spot. So you would do R, U prime, R prime, U, and then it's the same idea just with this triangle here. So it's U, R, U, R prime. Another case you could have is you have this pair up here, but you can't pair this triangle to it. And all you would do for that is put this pair in this R slice here, so that when you do R, U, R prime, it gives you that easy insert. And same idea for that case is mirror. So it's a pair, but the triangle's in the bottom. So put it in the R slice, R, U prime, R prime, U prime, R, U, R prime. Now, in the event that you have both of these triangles up here, and this last edge is already on this gray center, then you could put these two triangles up in the back here, and you could just do R, U prime, R prime, and then it gives you the insert, which would then be U prime, R, U prime, R prime. Now, in the event that both the triangles are on the right center and the edge is in the top, you could put the edge here, and then just do R, U, R prime to set up to this case, where you put this pair in the R slice, and then do R, U prime, R prime, U prime to get the insert, R, U, R prime. Now, the case that's easiest to recognize, in my opinion, is your small trapezoid's already formed, but you can't insert either of them because then it messes up your green center. So what you would do is hold this small trapezoid here, and you would just do R, U, R prime, U prime, R, U, R prime, U prime, R, U prime, R prime. And that's it. The only other cases are when this pair is already on its correct center and it's just one triangle that's not solved. What you can do for this is put when it's this one, this top one isn't solved, you can put the triangle here and then do R, U, R prime, U prime, R, U, R prime, U, and you have your insert, R, U prime, R prime. And then same case, but it's this one that's not solved, you could again just put that triangle there and then do R, U prime, R prime, U, R, U prime, R prime, U prime, and you have your insert, R, U, R prime. So now, all we have to do is use this open triple slot to make both of these ones have yellow facing up, and our centers are all done. However, like I said, in the event that you did mess up your color scheme, like you see here, instead of it being PR, it's RP, RB, BP, then what you can do is first put your first center that has the wrong color scheme and make it so these two edges that aren't yellow are facing the other center, which has an incorrect color scheme. And then do the same for the other incorrect center, so that all of these edges that aren't yellow from both centers are facing each other like this. And then you would do this simple algorithm. R, U, R prime, U prime, R wide, U prime, R prime, U, R. And that will solve your centers, fix the color scheme, and yellow will be facing top. So yeah, that's everything for centers. Before we can get into last bottom triple, we need to learn two algs, but they're not really hard algs or even algs at all. They're just 4 moves and they're pretty much exactly the same. Plus, if you have any cubing experience, you probably know these. The first one is a sledge, which is R prime, L, R, L prime. What that does is it flips these two triples and then it cycles them clockwise. So that's R prime, L, R, L prime. And then instead of a hedge being the inverse of that, a hedge is actually R, B prime, R prime, B, which it again flips these two triples, but then it cycles them counterclockwise instead. So yeah, those are the two algs we'll be using to mostly flip triangles to where we want them to be to form our last bottom triple. Because what you do for last bottom triple is you first form your last bottom triple in the top, and then you insert it into its slot. So yeah, we can go back to the walkthrough solve now. Okay, so now that we know what a sledge and a hedge is, we can start. And looking around, we have our corner here, and we need to pair it with a blue and red triangle. So after looking around, we see this blue triangle is here. There's this one too, but I saw this first. So what we can do is hold that triangle on the left so that it's preserved, and do a sledge to flip this triple, mainly this corner, and it would also flip this. So R prime, L, R, L prime, and then that is now here, and this corner is flipped correctly to do a U prime to pair with it. And then we can do a sledge to preserve it by flipping it so that this blue won't become unsolved. So R prime, L, R, L prime. Now we have our first pair done. And now we have a case that you may run into sometimes, and it's where the last triangle you need to pair to, which in this case is red, is in the bottom slot, and they actually both will be in this case. And what you do for this case is pretty simple. You would first move this triple, the pair that you have, to the right of this slot. Then you would hold it like this with that pair here, and do L, R, L prime, R prime, U prime. And that will bring that triangle out, brings both of them out, but it brings this one out and puts it in the back, so when you do that U prime, it forms your triple here. And now, when it comes to inserting the bottom triple, you can't do this, because that messes up your centers scheme. So instead what we do is, first we make sure that it's not above its slot. So it can't be like that. It has to be above a already solved triple slot. And you want to rotate until the white is facing you on that corner. So right here is facing me. So I would hold it here. And if the slot is on the left, then you would do L prime, R prime, L, R. And that solves your last bottom triple. And if the slot is on the right, whenever you hold white in front of you, you would just do R, L, R prime, L prime. So yeah. One last thing to note about last bottom triple is that if the corner is already in that triple slot, then all you have to do to take it out is hold that corner on the right, like here, so the slot on the right, and you would just do L, R, L prime, R prime. So very similar to inserting a corner, except it's to take the corner out. Okay, and now that we're done with our last bottom triple, we can move on to our last three triples. And this is broken into two parts, pair formation and then TCP, except I'll be using two-look TCP. So for pair formation, we are forming three pairs, a pair being the non-yellow part of one of these last three corners paired to one of these non-yellow triangles. And we have a pretty good case right now. This pair is formed and preserved, and this pair is formed. So to preserve it, we can just do a sledge because it flips these two triples. So R prime, L, R, L prime. And that preserved these two pairs. And if we do a U prime, our last pair is done. So we could move on to two-look TCP right now. I'm going to show one more pair formation example just because it won't always be that easy. So for this pair formation example, we have this pair preserved here, well, made here but not yet preserved. So I could do a sledge to preserve that, because it brings it to the top. And then I could pair this one, because I see this and this. So I would do U prime, rotate, and then sledge, and it preserves these two pairs. And I have this one, I can do a U prime, and all my pairs are made. And the last pair formation case that I want to go over, because I feel like I always see people asking about this, is if you have this pair formed and this pair formed, and this one's preserved, and let's say I preserve both of those. So you have two done pairs that are made, they're preserved, but then you have this. You messed up somewhere or something, but it's not the end of the world. Basically, when you went to solve or form your second pair, you went and you did it on this with no regard for where this corner was. And since you flipped it and flipped these two, it gives you this case, which you could solve with a 2-cycle alg, but it's better if instead you solve this purple to this red, and then do a sledge, and then pair the red to the purple here, so that all your pairs are formed. So yeah. Now, moving on to 2-look TCP, there are 3 cases for corner permutation and 3 cases for triangle permutation. First, we start by solving the corners. So we look at where these two triples are flipped with yellow not facing the top, and we have this bar. We look at these two corners, and whichever corner matches this bar tells us which alg we should do. So since this corner on the right matches this bar, we would hold it like this and do a sledge. And that solves all 3 corners. However, if we look at it and it is here, then we would instead do a hedge from the same angle where we're holding it here. And that again solves corners. And then the only case that you don't actually know is still really easy. It is a 2-flip. And that's where neither of these corners match this bar. And all you would do is hold it like this, where the one that has yellow facing up is in front of you. And you would do a sledge, and rotate to the left, and then do a hedge. I'll leave all those algs in the description. So now, going back to our example solve, for our corner permutation, we look, the bar's here and neither of these match. So we have a 2-flip. So we hold it here and do a sledge, rotate, hedge. And those are all our corners. Now, this may look solved. However, these 2 triangles are not solved. And there are 3 cases for triangle permutation. So I'll go over those now. So the first triangle permutation case is a 2-cycle, where this triangle and this triangle need to swap, and this one here at the back is solved. And the algorithm for this is the exact same as this LOL, where you do RY, U, R prime, U prime, M, U, R, U prime, R prime. Except you do it here, and you hold it with yellow on this left side, and then you have one of the triangles that needs to cycle in the back and one in front of you. And you do RB wide, U, RB prime, U prime, RBS prime, which is this slice layer, and then U, RB, U prime, RB prime. And now our last 2 cases are both 3 cycles. The first one is a 3-cycle clockwise, where this triangle needs to go to here, and this one needs to go to here. So what you do is you again hold yellow on the left, and you can hold any of these triangles in front of you, as long as it's right here. And then you would do U prime, F, U prime, FS, which is this slice layer, and then U, F prime, U prime, FS prime, U prime. And then for counterclockwise, again, you would hold it the same way, except these ones are gonna swap counterclockwise. So you would hold it like this, and you would do U, F, S, U, F, U prime, F, S prime, U, F prime, U. And just to be clear, the reason that this is still an F, even though you're holding it like this, is it just makes finger tricking it better. Instead of trying to like finger trick it from the front, if you just hold it like this, you can just go. Or I think those are really locky, but you get the point, I think. So yeah. So now that I've explained everything, I'm going to do a example solve, but I'm not going to really like walk through and say everything I'm doing. So make my first center, keeping my color scheme in mind, purple, red, blue. And then I'll make my first two triples. And then my second center. And then my last two centers. Last bottom triple. Last three triples. So yeah. Slight little bonus part. If you change how you solve this first center and instead do it like this, to put this here, then you get an arrow block, which there will be a bunch more on those in the next video, but those are really good. So yeah. So that's about it for this tutorial. This one was more of a little bit of everything one to go through the method in its entirety. Tomorrow I'll at least post the first center focus tutorial. Maybe I'll also be able to get the first two triples one done. I'm not sure. It depends on how long the first center one takes me. Because this one took me over almost 5 hours to record. And I still have to edit it, which is going to take even longer probably. But yeah. And if there are any questions, feel free to comment anything. And I'll also be linking Kit's 2-look TCP tutorial in the description, along with Ben's original Bencisco tutorial. However, that doesn't include 2-look TCP. That's why I'm linking Kit's as well. I'll also again link the FTO Discord server. And yeah, that's pretty much it for this video. So thank you for listening to me ramble about FTO for like, I don't know how long, for a while. So yeah, thank you. You probably should subscribe because like there's a chance these tutorials will be pretty good. Unless you don't care about FTO, then still subscribe anyway.